So Harvard is first and foremost a venture capital firm. Okay, you're an investment firm. So let's pretend you're a venture capitalist, and I give you two options, okay? And you tell me which option you pick. Option one is, I want to open a restaurant, and I need $1 million from you. Okay? But guess what, guys? My uncle works for the government. So I can guarantee that he and his friends will come to my restaurant every single day. And so there's no risk. There's absolutely no risk involved. I guarantee we'll make at least $500,000 a year. No risk, easy money, okay? Number two is, I want to start a website that's AI and Bitcoin and all this, okay? Problem is, I don't even know how to write code. I have no experience doing a website, and my idea isn't really fleshed out. But if it works, we can make $1 billion, guys, okay? So option one is low risk, really good plan, solid returns, $500,000 a year, okay? Option two is concept, vague idea. I have absolutely no experience doing any of this, but we could possibly make $1 billion, okay? Which option do you take? Okay, you always take this, guys, okay? Right? Because you don't need $500,000. That's boring. You want $1 billion. And that's the mentality of Harvard. You understand? They want to take a risk on you. They don't want students who are solid and who become a professor. That's boring, okay? They want crazy people who will change the world because that makes Harvard look good. Okay, another way of saying this is they rather have a class where 10 people succeed and 999 fail rather than 1,000 people succeed slightly. Does that make sense? Okay? Why? Because we only remember the 10 people who succeed. We forget everyone else. Okay? That's the Harvard mentality. And that's why they're the most famous university in the world, because they're looking to create as much brand name recognition for themselves as possible. Okay? All right? Does that make sense? All right. Now, how do we know if they succeed or not, if you're Harvard? Well, remember the class that we learned last class, which is dissociative personality disorder. And what we discussed last class is, in a game, people who are most likely to succeed have this characteristic. Okay? And so, I'll explain why, using myself as an example, because I got into Yale. Okay? So, what we're going to do is this. We're going to examine my application to Yale. And then we're going to look at how the admissions officers would perceive application and how they would judge my potential. Okay? So, three things. The first is what my application actually says. Second is they will examine my background. And the third is they will then judge my potential. Okay? All right, so my application. All right, so I went to a public high school. It was good, but it's not a private high school. You get a better education on a private high school. Plus, it's in Canada, okay? Which is everyone's kind of stupid in Canada, okay? So, and I was top 10 of 200 kids. So it's good, but it's not number one. It's not number two. It's just top 10, okay? I was number 10. My SAT was 1,400 out of 1,600. And it's decent, but people are trying to get 1,550, 1,500 easily, okay? So not that great. I was on a soccer team. I was not athletic. The soccer team just needed players, so I signed up, okay? I was also editor of the school newspaper. Okay? And I was captain of a quiz team called Reach for the Top. Okay? So that's a Canadian thing. But I was captain of it, I organized it, okay? So these three activities, they're fine, but it doesn't really demonstrate leadership potential, right? You're not head of student government, or you're not head of Model United Nations, all right? on my essay, I wrote about Richard Feynman, who is a physicist. It was a really boring essay. It was, like anyone could have written it. Like ChatGPT could have written it, okay? It was just a bad essay. My teachers, they liked me, but they really didn't like me because I seemed aggressive to them. I wanted grades too much. So the word they use is ambitious. They thought I was ambitious. Ambitious is a dirty word in Canada. It means you don't play by the rules. It means you're too aggressive. It means you're too pushy, okay? All right, so this is my application to Yale. As you can see, it is a decent, but not a stellar application. So how did I get in? Well, because there was some information that they could also derive from application that made them interested in me, okay? The first is that I was poor. So I couldn't even afford the application fee. I had to apply for a waiver for my application, for my application, okay? So I was poor because I was an immigrant. So I was born in China in 1976, and my family went over when I was in 1983 when I was like 6, okay? So I was a poor immigrant in Canada. I transferred high school. So I was in a poor high school, then I went to a rich high school. Okay, so basically I switched neighborhoods. My family lived in a poor neighborhood, and then I applied to go to a rich high school in a different neighborhood. So I had to take the subway there every day, and I spent like half an hour on the subway. And guess what, guys? Canadians don't like that, okay? Canadians want you to stay where you are, and that's it. So when I told my high school principal that I was going to transfer high schools, he got very upset. And he said that I'm going to write a discipline letter, okay, a discipline letter, and it's a very serious thing. And I'm going to put it in your folder so that when you apply to university, they will know that you were suspended from the school. And that's basically like a really bad thing, okay? I got this discipline letter, and when I went to the rich high school, I had no friends. Why? Because they didn't like me. Because they don't like it when someone new comes in. Okay, I didn't know their culture. I'm sort of like ambitious, and I was grade grubbing. But the thing is, I was desperate because my family was very poor, and I wanted a better life. Okay. So again, they know all this. Okay, they know I'm an average student, and they know that I'm pushy and ambitious, and that's why Yale let me in. Because it's clear from this information that I had dissociative personality disorder. Okay, what does that mean? It means, first of all, I'm desperate. Okay? Desperate means like, if I don't get into Yale, I'll probably kill myself. I mean, if I didn't get into Yale, I would drown. I couldn't breathe. It was a life or death issue for me. They can see the desperation. They want that, okay? Second thing is, I was insecure, okay? If you're an insecure person, it means you're not happy with who you are. It means there's a void in your heart. And therefore, the way to fill the insecurity is through achievement, okay? So, if I made $1 million, I wouldn't be happy. I would need to go make $2 million. If I made $10 million, I would see people around me who had $100 million. And I would be like, I need to go make $1 billion, okay? So an insecure person sees the world as a competition. And you're always achieving, okay? And that's how you succeed, okay? And the third thing is, I was not a moral person, okay? I was ready to break the rules in order to succeed, transgressive, okay? So I was not supposed to leave my poor high school and go to a rich high school. That's breaking the rules in Canada. It's not illegal, but you're not supposed to do that. And I didn't care. The principal said I couldn't do that. I said to him, screw off. I'm still gonna do it. I went to the rich high school. Everyone said to me, you're not welcome. I said, I don't care. I'm gonna get my good grades, and I'm gonna get into the Ivy League. I don't need you guys, okay? So they saw the desperation, they saw the insecurity, they saw the hunger and the immorality. And this is all part of dissociative personality disorder. And that's why they let me in. Because it's possible I go crazy, okay? It's possible I become depressed, but it's also possible I change the world. Okay? Does that make sense? That's how they think. Because they're a venture capital firm. They're looking for the riskiest investment with the best possible return. They're looking for people who can become president of the United States, who can change the world, who can make a name for themselves. Because if they do that, that makes Yale look good. So you remember the name, okay? It's all about brand name recognition. Okay? Does that make sense? All right. Okay. So you're like, okay, well, this is fine, and what's wrong with the system, okay? Why would this be a bad thing? It works. Why would this be a bad thing? Well, the problem with this is because Yale, Harvard, and Princeton is so powerful, not only are they looking for people with trauma, okay? I was traumatized as a child, but they're also traumatizing the world, okay? If that makes sense. All right? So the meritocracy exists to find people with trauma, and because it exists, it's traumatizing the world. Okay? So let me explain how and why. Any questions so far? Is this all clear? Yeah?
So let's say if like the Harvard and Princeton, these college students, then why they're still like so famous? Because the system is just unreasonable for and unequal for the students who have who have good grades.
Okay. All right. That's a really good question. Okay. So why are Harvard students, Yale students, Princeton students so famous? Okay. The reason why is when you do investment, you don't do all risky investments. Okay. You always have diversity in your portfolio. So the majority of students are still students who will be successful no matter what. Why? Because their families are rich. Okay. So if we go back to the example, right? Those four, you let in the child who comes from 3 generations of Harvard graduates. Okay? And that's the majority of people who get into Harvard. And then you let in the athlete, okay? So the athlete, the legacy, these are the people who are the majority. Those are the safe investments. And then you have like 1% of positions for people like me, who like you don't really know, but there's potential there, so let's take a risk. Okay? And quite honestly, it's a crapshoot because it's all very discretionary. So they're basically, it's all intuition, okay? They don't have a formula for this. They just think, this guy is interesting, let's just let him in, okay? And it's possible, on an essay, you just wrote something really interesting, and they laughed. And it's like, okay, let's take a chance on this guy. They have that 1% of positions available for risk, okay? Does that make sense? Okay, so I'm not the average Yale student. I'm a marginalized Yale student, okay?